Can you do more logical fallacies? Sure, why not? Start off with the one that I got requested the most in the last video, which was the red herring fallacy. In books, a red herring is when they insert information that is intentionally misleading. The fallacy is pretty similar. It's when you insert information in an attempt to change the topic. This gets confused with the straw man fallacy very often. The difference is that a straw man is when you misrepresent their point in order to beat that misrepresentation. A red herring is when you just completely change the topic. In the last video, the straw man example that I used was boba is better than coffee, and somebody saying, oh, I guess you just hate coffee then, and now they're talking about coffee. A red herring would be like if I said, well, what about the orphans in Taiwan that have to work in the boba mines to get you your boba? You know what I mean? Like, that has nothing to do with what we're actually talking about. They're just trying to change the subject. Most frequent real world example that I hear is when I'm talking about gun safety or gun control. People will inevitably bring up, well, what about Chicago? And being somebody who's from Chicago, it's very hard not to take that bait. Oh, you want to talk about Chicago? Let's talk about Chicago. And now we're in a conversation about the inefficacy of gun regulations when your bordering states don't follow them. And like, that's not even what we were talking about. So that's the red herring fallacy. Next up, circular reasoning fallacy. This is when someone's evidence to support their claim is literally just the claim. They don't bring any outside information to verify or validate their claim. They're just saying, no, this is true because it's true. Obviously, the most frequently that you'll see this used is religion. If someone were to say the Bible is the word of God, or the Bible is true, and I were to say, how do you know that? If they were to say, because it says so in the Bible, that is circular reasoning. You're using the claim the Bible is true as your evidence for why the Bible is true. X is true because X is true, therefore X is true. Another form of circular reasoning is X is true because Y is true, and Y is true because X is true. The job market sucks because nobody wants to work, and nobody wants to work because the job market sucks. That's circular reasoning. You've got to be able to validate your claim using outside information. No one wants to work because the job market sucks. The job market sucks because inflation made everything more expensive than wages are currently accounting for. Something like that. So that's circular reasoning. Let's keep going. The false dichotomy fallacy or false dilemma fallacy. This is when someone poses an idea, a scenario, anything, as if there are only two options when there are actually more. We see this fallacy being used all the time, everywhere, like every day. Even commercial advertising. If you've ever heard an ad go something like, do you want to keep dealing with this unfortunate thing that you're dealing with? Or do you want to try our product? Like that that's a false dichotomy. Debater bros use this one a lot in order to win debates. The purpose of a false dichotomy is to set up a scenario where no matter what you say, I still get what I want. Let's say a debater bro wants to demonize black people. They will say something like, black people commit a disproportionate amount of robbery and unaliving. Now, do you think that that's because of fatherlessness, or are they just inherently more violent, right? And if you take the bait and answer with either of those options, they got you. You have to be able to recognize when you've been posed a false dichotomy and be able to get out of that situation. Well, wait, those stats are only accurate in poverty-stricken areas. In affluent neighborhoods, black people aren't committing disproportionate amounts of crime. So maybe let's explore a third option. Any population that's forced to stay in close proximity with each other, maybe because of social barriers, financial barriers, legal barriers, any population that's forced to stay in close proximity with each other and not given adequate resources for survival is inevitably going to have a spike in both robbery and unaliving. So could it be that that happened and is happening disproportionately to black people? It's important to be able to notice when someone's setting you up for a false dichotomy, and ideally you want to be able to think about alternative options if there are any. Basically, don't play their game. All right, we got like two more. The middle ground fallacy. Now, this fallacy has a ton of different names. The argument to moderation, the false compromise, the golden mean, the fallacy of objection, the fallacy of bargaining, both siderism. They all mean the same thing. This fallacy basically says that because compromising is a good thing, if there are two opposing stances, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's for the people that are always saying, no, I can see both sides have valid points. The issue with this fallacy is that it doesn't require both sides to have valid points. It doesn't even require either side to have valid points. It doesn't care whether one side's got evidence and the other side doesn't. It just wants to be in the middle. If someone were to say that the crime for stealing medicine should be cutting off both of your hands, and someone else were to say, you shouldn't get injured for stealing medicine, the crime should be to pay a fine, the middle ground fallacy would be like, cut off one hand, maybe like a fine and a couple fingers. The main people that use this fallacy are just uninformed or afraid to take strong stances in one way or the other. Another hazard of this fallacy is that if one side is completely right and the other side is completely not right, when you go somewhere in the middle, you're still wrong. If one side's like, gay people shouldn't have rights, and the other side is like, every human should have rights, and then you're in the middle and you're like, maybe not all the rights, maybe not marriage, you know what I mean? Then you'd still be in the wrong. This is also tricky because sometimes the truth actually is in the middle. Someone says the government always lies, and someone else says the government always tells the truth. Well then, yeah, in that instance, it's probably somewhere in the middle. The fallacy happens if the reason you believe that is because you just believe that if there are two options, the truth is in the middle. Last but certainly not least is the fallacy fallacy. This one's really easy to forget, but it's very important. The fallacy fallacy says that if you got to your conclusion using a fallacy, your conclusion is wrong. This one's used a lot by debater bros who are trying to own somebody in a debate, but it's still a fallacy. Like, you gotta remember, fallacies are just bad logic that you used to get to your conclusion. You can get the right answer using an incorrect formula. Drew Afualo is one of my favorite examples of breaking the fallacy fallacy. Drew uses ad hominems in like all of her videos. Somebody will be like, fat people suck. And she'll pop up and she'll be like, no, you're saying that because you're short and ugly and women don't like you. She's just roasting them as a person, which is an ad hominem. But also, yeah, that's why they're saying, I am 5'8". I am by no means a tall person. But I can very clearly see the trend amongst the men making those videos. So yeah, she's roasting them. She's using a fallacy. But she's still right, though. Anyway, those are my fallacies. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to leave you with this. If you want to debate people online or in comment sections, you got to be aware of why you're doing it. Are you debating to win? Are you debating to teach? Are you debating to reach a mutual understanding on a certain topic? Like, what's your why? There's a time and place for all these, but if you and the people you're debating are not on the same page about your why, you might be wasting your time. Like, you might be trying to teach somebody something and they're just trying to be funny, and so you're wasting your time. Let me know if you guys enjoy this style of video and this length of video. Most of my videos are way shorter than this. If you like my content and want to support me, I've got an Instagram right here. There's links down here to like YouTube. You can buy me a coffee. I've got a Patreon in there. I've also got a subscription option right here. There's a bunch of different things that you can do if you want to. I appreciate you guys for watching. See you in the next video.